tres otras personas, la señora Monahan, el señor Watchorn y el señor Stephen Lamont. Lo que todos queremos hacer es escuchar sus opiniones, a ver cómo le parece que sería la escuela nueva de Pickering, cuáles son sus ideas. Y ahora puede hablar David, que es el consultor de la visión.
Okay, thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Good evening, everybody.
Buenas noches a todos.
I am what's called an educational programmer.
Yo soy un programador educacional como parte del equipo que va a diseñar.
As both a licensed architect,
Yo soy un arquitecto,
more so as an educator. I worked for about 20 years
una persona que
in the educational realm as a high school teacher, as a curriculum developer, as an assistant principal. And so my role in this process is to help create the bridge between sort of the district and the architect as they talk about and envision a new building and what that could look like. And part of this conversation is to really kind of do a lot of active listening about what is important to the district, what's important to the community, and also to share best practice ideas about what's possible so we can push people thinking forward about what it means to create a 21st century school facility that will hopefully last for decades to come, that will be practical, that will be durable, and that will also be inspiring to students and teachers as they have access to a wide variety of different contexts for teaching and learning. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. And let's see if I could have a thumbs up from the panelists to just make sure that you can all see that. Okay, very good. So this is an interactive presentation, actually, and we're going to be asking you at different points to share your thinking. We want to share with you ideas that we've been talking about in this visioning group. I'll explain to you a little bit more about that first, and then talk about the agenda for tonight. But we're going to be covering a number of different topics and asking for your feedback, sharing the thinking of what we call the educational working group or visioning group. So, and asking for your feedback. So this visioning process is one that is a lot about listening, but it's definitely sequential and targeted. We're trying to really distill the vision of the district and the community and connect that to ideas about 21st century teaching and learning practices and also the types of design approaches and patterns, we call them, that support 21st century teaching and learning. So this process is one in which we started meeting with the educational leadership team from the district. Then we have been meeting for a series of, well, we will do 3 workshops. We've met for 2 of them on these dates, the 9th and the 16th of November. And we'll be holding our 3rd workshop on the 12th of December. But before we do that, we wanted to sort of share with the community about what this process has yielded so far. And then this all feeds into a discussion that the district will be having, or a document that they'll be creating called an educational plan or space program. So again, it's kind of it's a conversation that kind of circles around but starts with education, weaves in design, we talk about space adjacencies, and we relate that all to the educational plan of the district. And so for tonight, I'm going to give you a little bit of a project overview, and then share some of the goals and priorities that have been established thus far, and get your feedback on them. And then we'll also talk about future-ready teaching and learning and the conversation we've been having with the district and your teachers about what that looks like, get your feedback on that, and then finally get to the design approaches and design patterns and see what you are most excited about. And we'll be doing that again through an interactive platform. I'll explain to you how you access that in a few moments when we get to it. So this process is
Entonces,
really about developing a
este
narrative, as I
proceso
said,
es como
of what the
desarrollar una
educational
narrativa.
vision of the district
¿Cuál es
is.
la visión
And
educativa del
it's also
distrito?
about how to optimize the Mass School
Y es
Building
cómo se
Authority
puede
space template. Now, the
optimizar
Mass School Building Authority,
la
which
plantilla
is
de
your funding
espacio del
partner in this,
MSBA.
really wants to make sure that
Quiere
we're
realmente
not designing
asegurar que no
obsolete
estamos
buildings. So we love the quaintness of old school
diseñando
buildings,
edificios que
and
son
we can
obsoletos.
bring
Quieren
many of the
edificios que son
aesthetic of that,
modernos,
but we also want to be thinking
pero
about
queremos también pensar
learning environments that are much more agile
sobre
and
los
interconnected,
espacios para
and that use
aprender
square
que son más
footage in the most
conectados
practical and
y cómo
multi-purpose way as
podemos
possible, but
utilizar
that
el
still
espacio de la
the classroom
mejor
is still the
manera
basic
posible.
unit. We still have our classrooms, but
Todavía
we
vamos
want
a
to take
tener
advantage
nuestras
of all the
clases, pero
spaces
también
in
tenemos
between.
que
So that's some of
tomar
the themes
ventaja
that
de
are going
todos
to
los
come up
espacios
tonight.
posibles dentro de la escuela.
And we're going to build upon the innovation agenda of the school
construir
and your
sobre
school
una
improvement plan. So
programación
it's all based on
y
sort of your
agenda de
educational
innovación,
needs and philosophy.
plan de
And we're
mejoramiento
also
escolar,
going to be looking at the Thurgood Marshall,
un
which we know
proyecto
is a wonderful
educativo.
model school.
Vamos a
And as we
utilizar la
think
escuela
about the
Thurgood
Pickering,
Marshall
we want to
como
think
una
about all the
escuela
good
modelo
things about the Thurgood Marshall.
y
And
todo lo bueno
it's a few
que
years
tiene esa
old now,
escuela,
so
que tiene
doing
algunos
kind of
años,
like a post-occupancy analysis of
y podemos
what
hacer
are the
un
things that we
análisis de
might
esa
want to
escuela,
tweak for
que a lo
this
mejor
Pickering
cuáles son
Middle
algunas
School, as
cosas que
well
nos
as what's
gustaría
the
cambiar para esa
particular needs
escuela
of Pickering
y cuáles son las
and the
necesidades
sort of the culture
específicas
of the
para una
school,
escuela
and does
como
that
Pickering
suggest other
y la
ways
cultura escolar.
of approaching a building design. So I'm about to share with you some priorities that have been established
Quiero
and
compartir unas
ask for your
prioridades que
priorities,
se han establecido
architectural,
y quiero pedir
educational,
cuáles son
and
sus
community related.
prioridades.
But before I did that, I wanted to just share that any building going through this MSBA, Mass School Building Authority process is going to have certain features that we can just rest assured they're going to be there. And so I wanted to tell you what they are, so that when I ask for your priorities, you can be as aspirational as you want. You can also reinforce these things, which are all very important. So any new or renovated school is going to be ADA compliant. When we talk about renovation of a school building, we're really thinking about all new systems, all new windows, new wall systems, and substantially altered plan of the building. So even a renovation is going to have all these features. We're going to be thinking about safe entry and security. We know that security is incredibly important in schools, not only from the standpoint of who gets in and has access to the school and how they access the school, but also how a building feels inside. Does it feel safe? Does it feel welcoming? Does it help build community? So we'll be talking about that, and these are passive and active security features. We'll be thinking about thermal comfort. We know that schools are used around the clock now, and all year. In the summer, we need to have cooling, and we need to have heating that works. This project also comes along with new technology and furniture. We'll be thinking about a very robust technology network that will last for decades to come and adapt to new technologies that are sure to come down the pipe very soon. All classrooms will be well-sized and all will have natural light. We know that that's incredibly important for student performance. There are many studies that show that students perform significantly better when they are in classrooms that have natural light, and not to mention health and wellness for both teachers and students. Indoor-outdoor connectivity, we're very much thinking about
También vamos a pensar sobre la conectividad interior y exterior. Sabemos que es muy importante para que los niños vayan afuera, para que puedan tener un lugar para jugar, para comer. También tenemos salas de educación especial, educación especial con servicios especiales. Hay algunos programas que están en alguna parte del edificio y eso en inglés se llama un modelo push-in. Es un modelo donde la instrucción ocurre en una clase general o cerca. No queremos hacer un estigma de esos estudiantes. También a lo mejor vamos a tener salas que sirven también otra función.
So there's no stigma about that. safe drop-off and pickup, we'll be thinking about
Vamos a
making
también
sure we separate
pensar
pedestrian
sobre
traffic and bike
el
traffic
tráfico para
and
que los
car
estudiantes
and
estén
bus.
seguros cuando los
We're gonna be
dejen en la
thinking about
mañana y
that
los
whole
vayan a
entry
buscar después del
sequence
fin del día escolar.
of dropping and picking off students, picking up students and coming to the school to visit. And any new or renovated building will have to have either a LEED
Cualquier edificio
sustainability
nuevo
rating
va a necesitar
or
tener
mass chip. So we're any new building or renovated building, we have to think about both the passive and active sustainability features. And finally, we're putting in more bathrooms, distributed bathrooms, and gender-neutral bathrooms in schools.
Y también va a haber un número adecuado de baños
in middle schools. Middle school children feel very strongly about this. They want to have the option to go to gender-neutral bathrooms. So those are some of the things that any new or renovated school will have.
Esos son
Some of the
temas que
overarching
va a tener
themes in a
cualquier
21st century
escuela
school,
nueva
and we'll see some
del
pictures of this
siglo
soon.
XXI.
We want to use every square inch of the building
Queremos
because
utilizar
everything
cada
is wired
centímetro
now.
cuadrado del
And hallways take
edificio,
up a lot of square footage
crear
that's
espacios
useless.
flexibles
So how
de
can we,
varios
except for in
usos,
between classrooms, so how can we
por
expand some
ejemplo, los
hallway spaces,
pasillos
make them
utilizan
usable
mucho
space,
espacio, y
create
cómo podemos utilizar el
extended
espacio de
learning
los
beyond the
pasillos
classroom. The classroom
para
is still
extender el
our
aprendizaje
basic
que está ocurriendo en la clase
place for
a otras
educating our
partes
students,
de la
but we
escuela.
want all the spaces in between, and we want connectivity between these spaces,
Y
especially
queremos que estos
when we're trying
lugares
to create a small school community,
estén
help kids
conectados
feel a
para
sense of
construir
belonging and ownership. And this
sinergia
is
entre,
again very
entre los
important
espacios
when we think
variados.
about middle school population. So this is an opportunity
Esta
to
es
be really
una
aspirational
oportunidad
in your thinking as we
para
ask you what your priorities are.
reflexionar sobre la
That
agenda y las
doesn't mean they need
necesidades
to
del
be
distrito de la
expensive at
escuela.
all. But we
¿Y
want
qué
to hear your
piensa
blue sky thinking
usted
and your
que
practical
sea lo más
thinking
importante
about what you'd like to see in this
sobre lo
building.
que le
So
gustaría ver en esta
first I'm going
escuela?
to just share, I'm going to open up in just 1 minute to share with you some of the, for you to share your educational priorities.
Pronto nos gustaría escuchar
But
sobre
first I'll
cuáles
share
son
what the
sus
Vision
prioridades
Group
educativas.
has prioritized thus far. And these are just highlights. So certainly a building that
son
supports
prioridades
forward-thinking
que tiene que ser un
programming and
edificio con
21st century
programación, con
skills.
visión al futuro,
And that
habilidades del
means
siglo
that
XXI.
21st century skills
Y
are a
eso
lot about
significa
hands-on and project-based learning,
muchos
applying
proyectos
the
utilizando
content that students are learning,
el material que están
promoting collaboration
aprendiendo
and
los
teamwork,
estudiantes
and
para
especially
poder
in a middle
aplicar
school, we
ese
oftentimes are
conocimiento al
teaming
trabajo que están
across
haciendo.
discipline and have teaching teams that work with cohorts of students.
Estamos
So
hablando
we want
también
to support
sobre
that. There's a
el
big
proyecto
focus on
STEAM
career
y el
technology
aprendizaje basado
that's
en
come up within the
proyectos.
group. And wanting to prepare students for vocational study to help
Queremos
them understand how what they're learning connects to
preparar a los
vocation and
estudiantes
careers,
para
and
estudios
to give them
vocacionales,
ways of interacting
para que
with
tengan
content that
formas
are
de
more hands-on,
interactuar
that
con
are
el
more
contenido,
engaging for
que
them,
pueden utilizar
and
sus
that will make
manos,
them
que estén más
excited about learning.
involucrados
Health and
directamente con
wellness
el
is a
aprendizaje.
theme throughout the school.
El
That has
salud
a
y el
lot to do
bienestar
with both
también es un
programming
tema
in the
importante
building
en la
as well
escuela,
as sort of what the building looks
dentro de
like
la
and feels
escuela,
like.
y cómo
And
se
bullying
siente
prevention.
el
That
edificio.
prevention program is a big part of the
El programa
district's
de
agenda,
prevención
and
del
we can design
bullying
buildings in
o
ways
el
that
acoso
give you
escolar,
eyes on the street and make it
y
very
podemos
easy to
diseñar
monitor
edificios
students informally
que es
in
más
ways that
fácil
actually make
monitorear
them
los
feel safer and
estudiantes
also help
para
them
que
feel
ellos
more
se puedan
connected. And
sentir más
finally,
seguros y
robust
también
technology
conectados.
and
Y
innovative
también
spaces.
finalmente la
And
tecnología
so I'm going to go
robusta
now
y
to,
espacios
I'm
innovativos.
actually going to have to escape from this presentation for one moment.
Voy
I'm
a
going to
salir
put
de
a
la
new slide in
presentación un
here that I
momento.
realized was not there. And I'm going to now go back to the presentation. So what I'm going to ask
voy a
you to do
volver a la
now is to
presentación.
go to
Lo
this
que
Mentimeter site,
le
and you
pido ahora
can
es
do
que
it in
vaya
two
a
ways.
este
You can do it
sitio.
by opening up a new window on your computer
Puede
and
abrir
entering
una pestaña nueva en
menti.com,
la
and
computadora
then
y
you'll
puede
come to
poner
this
ese
page,
sitio web
and it'll ask you to
menti.com
type, or you'll come to it'll ask you
y le va a
to
pedir
type
que
in a
ponga
number, and you want
un
to do
código, y ese es el código que puede ver ahí en la pantalla,
6876,
6876
and or you can use the
2576,
QR code here
o
on your
también
phone.
puede utilizar
So
el
if you'd
código
like to do
QR
that,
Uno
you
puede
can
ver
do
aquí la
that. And when you
pantalla
get to
con su
this page, you're
teléfono.
going to see a heart. If you could press the heart, that'll
Y
let
una
us
vez
know
que
that people
llega
are
a
getting
esa
there.
página, hay un corazón abajo a
And
la
this
derecha que
program
lo
is
puede
going
ver,
to allow
y eso nos
us
deja saber cuántas personas están
see what you are
conectadas.
thinking
Este
visually.
programa nos va a
What
dejar
I
ver
want to do is
qué están
also
pensando
open up the
ustedes.
possibility for people, as we go through these slides,
Y
to
mientras estamos
share
viendo
verbally what
esta
you're thinking
presentación,
about.
ustedes
It would be
pueden
nice to hear your voice and
compartir
not just mine.
lo que están pensando.
And I will also say that if you
También
are
voy a decir
in a language breakout room
si
and
está
would like to
hablando
offer
o escuchando en otro
your
idioma
comments
y
in a
quiere
different
ofrecer sus
language, feel free to
comentarios
do
en
that,
otro
and we
idioma,
will be
también lo puede
translating
hacer
them.
en ese idioma y va a ser
All of the
traducido.
feedback that we get within this
Y nosotros vamos a
webinar,
tomar todos
we're going
esos
to
comentarios
create a set of consolidated notes that look
y
at all
vamos
the
a
themes that
crear unas
emerge.
notas con
And
esos
we'll make that
comentarios.
available to
Y vamos a hacer
to you all,
que eso
so
sea
we can check for
disponible para
accuracy
todos
and make sure
ustedes.
that we're recording your thoughts accurately. So I'm going to move to the next page, and let's see.
Entonces ahora vamos a
And
hablar.
what you can see is that there is code at the top of all of these interactive
Como pueden
slides. So
ver, hay un
somehow you get
código
booted off of Menti. You
arriba
can go
de
back to
cada
menti.com and type in
imagen
this
que pueden
code.
ver en la
So
presentación. Si
I
alguna
wanted
vez
to ask
se
the group now
desconecta,
to
siempre puede
share
volver
what
poniendo
your
ese
top
código allá
future
arriba que lo puede ver.
forward architectural priorities are.
Me gustaría preguntar cuáles son
For
sus
the
prioridades
renovated. I'm
de
sorry.
arquitectos que están pensando hacia el
slide
futuro.
got mixed up. Because I
Perdón, me
wanted to
equivoqué
ask you about your
con el
educational
orden.
priorities.
Le quiero
I'm
mostrar
very sorry
otro.
about this. I'm gonna
Le pido
have to.
disculpas.
I was reordering this right before we got on. So I'm gonna do this, and oh, here's this slide. Okay, somehow it got pushed back now. So yeah, what I'm going to ask you for is your top future forward educational priorities. We're
Entonces
still
ahora
at the
le voy a
same
preguntar cuáles son las
Menti link.
prioridades para
And I should let
educativas
people know that
para la
this is
escuela nueva
anonymous.
de
We don't know
Pickering,
who's sending stuff in.
que
So
esté
I'll sort
listo
of,
para el
as
futuro.
things come in, and this is really just a brainstorm. So
Esto
we
realmente
really
es
want
para
to hear your
ver cuáles son
ideas. We
sus
really want to
ideas.
record them.
Queremos escuchar esas ideas.
And as they come in, I'll see what themes are emerging.
Y mientras ustedes están
And then
escribiendo
if
sus
people
ideas,
want to
puedo ver
unmute
cuáles
and
son los
share a
temas de
particular
las
idea,
ideas.
please feel free to do that. Okay, so as you can see, these are just going to come up on our screen, and you're
Como ustedes
welcome to
pueden ver,
submit more than
lo
one.
que pongan
We'd like to hear
se va a ver
all of the
aquí en la
things that you're
pantalla.
thinking about. As
Pueden
you
incluir
think
todo lo
about
que
what you'd
quieran.
like for a Pickering Middle School that's
Pueden
going to
incluir
last for decades to
todo
come,
lo que
that's going to
quieran ver en
prepare
una escuela
your
nueva
students
Pickering
for
que va a durar
entering
décadas.
this global economy and being as successful and also kind of
Mientras
like really
estamos
engaging
entrando
with
una
learning and
economía
liking to
global
learn.
para que
So
estén
technology
preparados
is
para el
definitely
futuro.
coming up here. Virtual
Estamos
tools to
viendo que han
translate
mencionado la
materials. So
tecnología,
smartboards with
herramientas
automatic
virtuales
translation
para
as the
traducir
teacher or facilitator
materiales,
speaks. Okay,
para que
great.
traduzca
And those are
automáticamente
certainly
mientras está hablando
available.
el maestro.
Spaces that are conducive to small
Lugares
group learning
que pueden
versus the
utilizar
old
para el
school.
aprendizaje en grupo
So
pequeño
large class
en
size,
vez de
kids in
las
their
clases
desks with teacher at the
grandes que
front.
se
So that's
estilaban
definitely a
en
theme
los
we'll be
viejos
talking
tiempos.
about. That as we think about classrooms these days,
Vamos a
there are
hablar
going to be times when the teacher is at the front, or maybe they're
en
at
las
the side
clases va a haber
teaching,
algunas
and they're
veces que la
talking to the whole
maestra
class.
está delante
There are also
del
going to
resto
be
de la
other
clase,
times
está
when
hablando todos.
students are working more
Pero también
independently,
hay
or they're
otras
in small
situaciones donde
groups.
los grupos,
So we need to
los
have really
estudiantes están
flexible
en grupos
classrooms, and our
pequeños
classrooms need to be rather
o
large to
están
be able to do
trabajando
that.
en grupos
And the
pequeños,
MSBA
entonces las
template
clases tienen que ser más
recognizes
grandes
this
para que puedan hacer
and
las
does
dos
provide
cosas.
good-sized classrooms. Classes centering civics and connectivity to
Clases
local
que están
communities.
centradas en las actividades cívicas
Great.
y
And
conectadas a las
connecting to the
comunidades
community and out
locales,
beyond the school.
en los clubes y
More clubs
actividades
and extracurricular
extracurriculares,
activities and
idiomas
spaces to support
extranjeros
that, I
para
would imagine. Also more
priorizar
foreign languages,
los
prioritizing the
aspectos
human
humanos de la
aspects of
educación, la
education.
empatía, las
Empathy, emotions,
emociones,
mental
la
health.
salud
So
mental.
that connects to this idea of social emotional learning
Eso se
that we'll be
conecta al
talking about a
aprendizaje
bit
social
later.
emocional.
And really it's something that we think a lot about,
Realmente
particularly for
nosotros
middle school,
pensamos
and
mucho
a
sobre
school
eso,
building
en
can definitely help to
particularmente
promote it.
con una escuela
Green
intermedia.
schools, solar panels.
Escuelas
We
verdes,
also
paneles
think about ways to
solares.
make the building interactive so
También
that the
estamos
students and teachers
pensando
see the building as a teaching tool
cómo
in
pueden
terms of
hacer que el
its
edificio sea más
sustainability elements.
interactivo para que sirva
Vocational
como
space, as
ejemplo
well
para
as
las
proper
maestras
space
y
for
los
arts,
estudiantes.
science, and top-notch
Espacio
athletics and
vocacional,
gym. All of
también
this is
espacio
part of
para
the
artes,
MSBA
ciencia
template, as
y
is
espacio para
spaces like a makerspace
actividad atlética o de
or a
gimnasio,
science, technology, engineering lab, where really
como
kind of
laboratorios
maker
para
thinking,
ciencia
design
y
thinking,
ingeniería.
and that kind of curriculum, which is very engaging
Y eso
for
es algo
students.
que los estudiantes
Outdoor
les
learning
gusta
spaces
mucho.
and a variety of seating
Lugares para
options,
aprender
and comfortable
afuera,
spaces outside the typical
lugares
box
donde pueden
of
estar
teacher
afuera
desk and student
para
desks
que
and
los
chairs.
estudiantes
Space to
estén
include more movement.
cómodos.
So a lot of these things, they relate to curriculum and culture of the
Muchas de
school, and they
estas
also do
cosas
relate to
están
space,
relacionadas
as you
al
can see.
currículum y también al espacio.
So let's see. I'm going to keep us moving along, and people can always put more in the
Bueno,
chat.
vamos a seguir adelante.
And
Ustedes
Deb,
siempre pueden poner
if
más en
people
el
raise their
chat.
hand and want to share
Si
anything, just
quieren
let me
levantar la
know.
mano o quieren compartir algo, avísenme.
Okay, so now we're still. I'm going to go to this slide first. Things are a little bit out of order here, but I'll tell you what the group, the visioning group, has been prioritizing as it talks about the building itself. So, starting out with flexible, varied, and inspiring learning spaces. Spaces that really feel fun, that feel like they're exciting places to learn. They don't need to be fancy to have those qualities. Areas for collaboration, where students can work in larger groups or in smaller groups. Equity and access. So certainly thinking about how special education and English language learning is delivered and making sure that that is dispersed throughout the school and really connected to the life of the school. Classroom neighborhoods. That's something we'll be talking about. I'll be illustrating some examples of it. It's where we put a collection of classrooms together and maybe some other spaces like breakout rooms or extended learning area and some bathrooms, and create a neighborhood. Maybe it has a certain color or certain kind of materials. And it creates a sense of place and ownership within the school and a sense of small school community. Health and wellness has a lot to do with materials, with natural light, with access to the outdoors, with varied areas where the kids can actually be themselves. Advanced technology, we've heard that. Robust sustainability, we've talked about. Future planning capacity. What if we need this building to be larger? What if we build it and they come? Right? So let's have some scenario planning for if we need to expand. Display, exhibition, and storytelling. So spaces for kids to really display all the great work they're doing and tell stories about what's important to them. Safe exhibition, ways for them to exhibit what they do. Varied spaces for eating, so not just a large space, but maybe some smaller spaces for eating for kids that need that smaller environment. Outdoor learning spaces, and that connect to outdoor classroom or sort of connect to nature and on the site, and a library media center that really has is both a place for books and a place for collaboration. So those are the things that were prioritized, and now I'm going to open up for people to share more ideas about what, and you can certainly build off of things that you've already heard.
Entonces acá pueden poner cuáles son sus opiniones de arquitectura.
So we're starting out with green school and solar panels, and again, we can think about the building itself as a teaching tool.
Y eso se puede usar
proper
como
space for a
una
healthy learning
herramienta de
environment. That
aprendizaje,
relates to being a green
un
school.
espacio para
It
poder
relates to the
aprender
siting of the
mejor.
building and connections between the indoor and the outdoor.
Eso tiene que ver también con
Minimize
cómo
gender
conectar
neutral bathroom
espacios
to
adentro y
none or at
afuera
most a single. Okay.
para
Yeah.
minimizar
Well, I mean, certainly what we're doing is we're putting some
los baños
smaller
que no
bathrooms in
tengan
and distributing
género,
throughout the building,
o para que sean baños
which is
para una
it's an
persona.
approach to also minimize the need for travel throughout the building, and it connects to the idea of smaller learning neighborhoods, which really become a smaller orbit for students.
Entonces
outdoor learning
entendemos que
spaces
va a ser
and
una buena
variety
idea
of
tener
seating
muchos baños
options.
a través de todo el edificio
Great.
para minimizar el tiempo que los
Natural
estudiantes tienen
light
que
and
estar
calm spaces.
caminando
And when we think
para ir
about
al
natural
baño.
light, I'll also say
También
that,
estamos hablando
you know,
sobre
we
los
certainly
espacios
think about the
afuera
classrooms as having lights, but
y
we also
lugares
think
para que se
about
puedan sentar los
borrowed light
estudiantes,
on the interior of the building
la
or
importancia de la
skylights
luz natural
that
y el
allow the
espacio
interior of the
para que los
building to feel
estudiantes
light
puedan
as well, which has
calmarse.
a great impact on sort of how it feels like to be navigating the school.
Y
And
un
calming
lugar,
spaces. So we're building in breakout spaces.
estamos
Again, it's part of
incluyendo
the MSBA
lugares
template.
separados
It builds in a lot of
para que los estudiantes
flexibility.
tengan un
These
lugar
calming or
donde
these
pueden ir
breakout spaces are
para
often
calmarse.
connected to or
Están
directly
muchas
adjacent
veces
to classroom spaces. So you
conectados
can do small
a
group
las
work,
clases.
but you can also have a calming space or a
Entonces pueden ir
de-escalation
los
space.
estudiantes
You can do
ahí
testing,
si tienen
and you
alguna
can do
evaluación o
pullover
si tienen que calmarse.
tutoring, things like that. Lots of windows that open, no
Muchas
inside
ventanas que
rooms
se abren,
with no windows. Yeah,
que
we're
no
definitely
tengan aulas
of the
adentro sin
same
ventanas.
mind in terms of the importance of natural light. Okay, and proper acoustics, and we'll definitely be thinking about acoustics, a green infrastructure and clean energy and space that utilizes the natural world.
La acústica adecuada, también infraestructura verde, un espacio verde con energía limpia que utiliza el mundo natural y también que sea educativo.
To the occupants of the building in terms of how they interact with it, or evidence, even views into the systems of the building, or plaques throughout the building that talk about the sustainable measures that
Por ejemplo, también se pueden poner en el edificio ejemplos de espacios o sistemas verdes que utilice el edificio para que los maestros lo puedan utilizar como ejemplo para los estudiantes.
All right, I'm going to keep us moving along.
Y también
We've got one more
escolar.
Category, which is
hay una categoría más,
your community priorities.
Que son las prioridades comunitarias.
You are the community. So I will say that the visioning group talked about the school being welcoming and inviting, and inviting community access in safe ways after hours and on weekends, and that's certainly what we're thinking about schools these days as resources for the community, as community centers, where whole parts of the building may be accessible to the community, but other parts of the building can be locked off. So we're thinking about the safety elements of that as well.
Y hay otra parte que se pueden ser que son más seguras para que los utilicen los estudiantes solamente. El centro de recursos familiares puede ser un centro que tiene servicios adicionales.
I think there was some thoughts about an area for clothes, an area for food,
por ejemplo,
potential health,
ropa, comida,
information about health services,
support
for after-school programming,
programas
definitely thinking about those spaces like the gym, like the cafeteria, and building in storage for those programs that might utilize them after hours, as well as adult evening classes, and making classrooms available for ELL, for English language learning, for other classes, and an auditorium was important to the community. Now, the MSBA does not support an auditorium in a middle school. They will support a community
no puede financiar o estar de acuerdo con un auditorio solamente. Hay algo que se llama un cafetorium, que es una combinación de un auditorio y una cafetería que se puede usar para ambas actividades. Esos espacios sí, la MSBA puede financiar, pero que tiene que ser un espacio que se utilice para las dos actividades.
For community events, or allowed or given for use for community events. So thinking about what your top future forward community priorities are, if you could share them now.
Ahora si pueden compartir cuáles son sus ideas para la escuela nueva de Pickering, para las prioridades comunitarias, para que estén listas para el futuro, si pueden incluir sus ideas en esta pantalla.
Okay, so yeah, and that family resource room, I think, connected to that idea of resources for students that are experiencing homelessness or housing instability.
problemas con
A theater separate from a
hogar, que no
cafeteria,
tienen
so that
un
will
lugar
definitely be
estable donde
part of the
vivir,
conversation.
un teatro
When the
que no
MSBA
sea
does
parte de la
support
cafetería.
a district, a
Cuando
town,
el
putting an
MSBA,
auditorium into
quiero que
their building,
sepan que el auditorio,
again, they will require the town to do full funding of that theater,
la
and it can be
ciudad
2/3 of the size of the
tiene que
school.
proveer
And the reason
los
for that is
fondos
because
si quieren
auditoriums
un auditorio
are
solamente
large
que sea
spaces and they
separado
go empty
de la
a lot of the
cafetería,
time. They're expensive spaces.
porque es un
So that
espacio
is sort
caro
of how that's been
y
developed within the
la
MSBA kind of palette
MSBA
of spaces.
requiere que sea un
A
espacio
parent and family
combinado
center, a
de
safe space for
auditorio
all.
y de cafetería para poder financiar esa parte del proyecto. Y también un
And
centro
again,
para
we'll
padres y
definitely be thinking
familias,
about
un
community
espacio
access
seguro para
in safe
todos.
ways to
Estamos
these
pensando sobre
spaces, like
el
your
acceso
gym,
comunitario,
like your theater
lugares como
or
el
your
gimnasio
cafetorium,
o el teatro
like
o el
your media
cafetorio,
center
un
or
lugar,
classrooms.
un centro para
A
clases,
space created for health, more
un espacio
specifically
creado
reproductive
para
and
la
family
salud,
planning services, and maybe
específicamente
including more gender-neutral bathrooms within those areas
la
as
salud
well.
reproductiva y
Spaces for
servicio para
clusters
planear
to gather
familia,
together,
también
community
incluyendo
health access, in
baños
addition to
sin
nurse
género dentro de estas
offices,
áreas,
and a welcoming space for
también
parents,
espacios para
including
grupos
meeting
para
rooms.
juntarse,
So really looking at this as a
acceso
space where
comunitario a la
community
salud,
resources are
también
provided
oficinas
and
para
made
las
accessible
enfermeras,
in
acceso comunitario para
a
el
very
programa
open
después de la
way.
escuela o
Community
eventos
access for
comunitarios
after
en los
school
fines de
programs
semana,
and community events
como
like movie
una
night,
noche de películas, por
and
ejemplo,
classrooms for career
trabajar
technical education
en
courses.
conjunto
So
con
coming back to that
oficiales locales o
vocational
públicos,
piece,
conectando estudiantes a la
and
comunidad
more partnerships
con
with local public
oportunidades
officials,
para
connecting
ser
students to the
voluntario
community with
o
volunteering and with
internados.
internships, and we know that that's incredibly engaging for students, for them to have those internship opportunities, those work-based learning opportunities, and opportunities to be mentored by adults and professionals within the community.
Y esas son oportunidades importantes que sirvan los adultos o los profesionales como ejemplos para los estudiantes en esas situaciones.
Talk a little bit now about some of the future-ready learning goals
Ahora
that
vamos a
have been
hablar sobre las
discussed within our
metas de
workshops.
aprendizaje que están listas para el futuro.
Just to say that when districts and schools think about 21st century skills, we're well into the 21st century. A lot of the conversation sort of centers around the fact that these 6 R's, and particularly the 3 R's, are still every bit as important as they've ever been. But there is a large focus on what we talk about as the 5 C's, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, and citizenship. And these are all what we might think of as higher order thinking skills, and they all connect to doing things with what you're learning. So it's applying the content that you're learning in ways that feel meaningful, and we know that that's how we all learn best, and that's all how we retain information best. And so there is a definite interest, and especially in a middle school environment, around problem and project-based learning. It's very engaging for students, and we certainly want to engage them at that age. And that connects to ideas about STEM and STEAM, so that would be science, technology, engineering, and math.
Que es la ciencia, la tecnología, la ingeniería y la matemática, y también las artes y las humanidades, que es como se puede aprender mejor en proyectos o solucionando problemas. También el aprendizaje social emocional, para que sea algo que sea accesible para estudiantes. Tenemos que ser inclusivos, hay que hacer un diseño universal para el aprendizaje, para que los estudiantes se sientan incluidos, que pueden utilizar los servicios incluidos y que se vayan a sentir conectados a la comunidad. Que esos son algunos de los temas más grandes.
Schools themselves being more kind of active, flexible, technology-rich environments where collaboration and project-based learning can happen, and a lot of traditional stuff can happen as well. So the idea is to have the opportunity to do both and to grow over time as delivery changes over the coming decade. So this all connects to workforce development and ideas about what will help our students succeed
Y todo
both
esto
in the worlds of work and
se
in the worlds
va
of post-secondary
pasar
education.
en lo que sea importante para los
So all of
estudiantes para que
these
puedan
top 10
aprender
skills
mejor y cuáles son las
from the Future
habilidades que
Jobs Report
necesitan los estudiantes para el futuro. Por
of
ejemplo, estas son las 10
2025 is
habilidades
they're all related
que
to
van a ser
those 5
importantes en el año
C's and things like
2025, que son cosas
adaptability,
como que los
analytical
estudiantes se
thinking and
pueden
innovation,
adaptar,
and
tienen que pensar
resilience. Being able to
analíticamente,
be kind of a
tienen que ser
learning how to learn and
resilientes,
being a self-confident learner. So
tienen
those
que
were the
tener
things that we
confianza
kind
en
of
sí
talked about with
mismos.
the group, and then they
Esas
went
son
through an
cosas que
activity
discutimos con el
and
grupo
created their own set of learning goals
y crearon
for
sus metas para el
Pickering Middle
aprendizaje
School or
para la escuela
Lynn Middle
Pickering,
School students.
para los
And
estudiantes
the
de
reason why
Lynn.
we did this is
Y la
because
razón que hicimos
before we got
esto
into talking about
era
the kind of
antes de
spaces
que
that we wanted to provide in the
empezamos a
school,
hablar
we
sobre los
wanted to
espacios,
understand
queríamos
as a
entender
group
mejor
what
como
is it that
grupo
you want kids to
qué era
be able to
lo
do.
que
So a lot of
era
the 4
importante para
C's
que
are
puedan hacer los
here.
niños.
That
Mucho de lo que ven
citizenship
aquí,
piece kind of
por
relates to
ejemplo, la
empathy and
ciudadanía,
humility.
tiene
And
que
not
ver con la
surprisingly, for middle
empatía
school, that comes right up at the top.
y
That
también
we're very concerned about social
con el
emotional
aprendizaje
learning, being a
socioemocional,
good citizen of the school,
ser
feeling a
buen
part
ciudadano
of,
de la escuela,
feeling a sense
que
of
se
belonging to the
sienten
community.
como
It's so
parte de
important
una
that middle school
comunidad,
kids
que es tan
feel
importante
that,
para los
and
estudiantes.
that the curriculum and the building support that.
Y el
Communication and
currículum y
collaboration.
ayuda a que la
So
escuela es tan
two of
importante
those
para
5
esa
C's,
colaboración.
and developing interpersonal
Los
skills
estudiantes
and
tienen que
leadership skills,
desarrollar
being a
habilidades
good critical thinker, a creative thinker,
interpersonales
real
entre
world
ellos
problem
para trabajar en
solving,
equipo,
being a self-directed
habilidades de
learner,
liderazgo.
and learning how to
Tienen que
self-manage
aprender
and
ellos
prioritize.
mismos, tienen que entender
Promote
cómo tienen que
or
hacer
learn about your
prioridades, cómo tienen
executive
que
functioning
planificar,
skills. And finally, future
habilidades
ready,
para
being
el
adaptive and
funcionamiento
agile,
ejecutivo y
persevering,
también
and
habilidades
developing a
listas
sense
para el
of global
futuro
awareness. So
que
this is
tienen
just
que
our
ser,
first
poder
pass, what we call
adaptarse
Learning Goals
y
1.0.
ágiles.
Now,
Y
when we
estas son
talk
las
to
metas
the
que tenemos para los
leadership,
estudiantes.
of
Cuando hablamos
the
sobre
district, they gave us sort of a kind of
las áreas
idea
más
of the
importantes
things that were most important to them,
programáticas de
and then we
enfoque,
worked with our group. And I should say, I don't think I've
pedimos
said yet,
a
the
los que
visioning
estaban
group
en
was a
parte
group
del
of
grupo
about 20 people
que pusieran un
that
número
include
para que pongan la
administrators and
importancia
teachers and some
de
community
cada
members and
tema
parents.
para ellos.
And so we talked about what was most important for the school, and
Hablamos
this
sobre
was
lo que
what
era
the
más
vision group
importante
came up
por
with
la escuela,
as sort of their more
para la
important
escuela, y estos
kind of
son
focus
temas
areas
que se
educationally. And I'm going to go
desarrollaron
through them
como los
relatively
temas más
quickly, and I'm just going to
importantes.
ask people to share
Y voy
what's
a hablar
most
un poco
important to
sobre
them.
estos temas y
So
quiero que
that
la gente
idea of
pueda
student-centered and
compartir lo que es
lifelong
más
learning,
importante para
where
ellos.
kids learn, they develop the confidence
Por
to be
ejemplo, el
proactive
aprendizaje
learners,
basado en el
to develop
estudiante
more
para que sean aprendices de
independence,
por vida,
and
que
to work
tengan
on their problem
pensamiento de
solving
orden
and
superior,
organizational
es un
skills.
aprendizaje proactivo,
Also
variado
very important, we
y
know this
resolución
is
de
all in service of
problemas.
students learning mastery of core academic skills. But
Estas son
even that, when we talk about English
los
language arts
temas
and
académicos
math,
más importantes,
the
que es el
MCAS
texto
really,
complejo,
Next Gen
el
MCAS
idioma
really infuses all
académico,
these 5
evidencia
C's
del
into it. So we're
texto,
looking at these
cómo
also
construir
kids
conocimientos,
looking at complex text, reading and writing across the curriculum, reading a lot of nonfiction,
la importancia de leer
and also in
textos
math,
de no
developing
ficción
concepts and skills,
para que puedan
or
aprender
understanding
conceptos y
concepts and
habilidades
skills that allow them to apply math concepts
para que
in
puedan
real-world
aplicar
ways.
esos conceptos
Next,
matemáticos.
social emotional learning, which I've
Ahora
talked
vamos a
about a
hablar
bunch
sobre
already
el
in
aprendizaje
terms of social
socioemocional.
awareness, responsible decision making, and
Como los
mindfulness and good
estudiantes
mental health.
tienen que educarse del
Real-world
carácter,
connections, which was mentioned previously as important.
conexiones al
Looking at the
mundo real,
walls of the school as permeable in the
a
sense
ver,
that
para que las
kids
paredes
get out
de la
into the
escuela sean
community, and the community
permeables.
also is a part of the
Lo
life of the school
importante
in
que
safe
es
ways,
que la
and
comunidad
serves
esté
as the
involucrada en la
text for
escuela,
much of what the kids are learning about and doing.
porque mucho de lo
And
que
really
está
leveraging
ocurriendo en la
resources
comunidad
of the
se puede usar
community and the
como
adults
un
that can
ejemplo
serve
para
as
lo que están
mentors.
aprendiendo los niños en la escuela.
Project-based and deeper learning,
El
looking at
aprendizaje
sort of
más
again, the
profundo y
community
basado
as
en
text, authentic
proyectos,
context for kids doing
que
projects
aprendizaje
that
basado
really
en proyectos y
connect to
problemas,
the creation
contextos
of products that are
auténticos,
meaningful,
evaluación del
and
desempeño,
performance-based assessment.
y creación de
differentiated
productos.
instruction, meeting kids where they're at,
La instrucción
targeted
diferenciada,
intervention,
las
inclusive and equitable access.
intervenciones
So these again were all things that the group
específicas,
thought were very
el acceso
important.
inclusivo,
And blended and virtual learning. So we
el
learned a lot about that
aprendizaje
in the pandemic. We want to use technology in
combinado
ways that help
y
to
virtual,
supplement
cómo
sort of the
podemos
learning that's
utilizar la
going on,
tecnología
and
de una
also
manera
think about
fluida
using
para
technology for kids to
usar
produce things of beauty and value.
también el
So it's the
aprendizaje
production
en
of
línea y
technology, not just
virtual
the consumption of it.
y la producción
So
de tecnología y la
finally, middle
información.
school considerations that we talked
Y
about as
también las
important were
consideraciones de la
interdisciplinary
escuela
teaming.
intermedia,
So again, we can
equipos
cohort students in ways that they feel
interdisciplinarios,
really well known, and teachers can work across disciplines. An advisory, supporting
programas
advisory
de
programs, again, where
asesoramiento
kids can feel well known.
para que los
Allowing
estudiantes
for
puedan
varied
tener esta
instruction
ayuda de
and
consejería,
exploration,
instrucción
exploratory
variada,
programs, life
programas
electives that
exploratorios,
might connect to career technical
programas
or
de
hands-on
transición.
kind of endeavors, and then transition programs that help students transition
Esos
from
programas ayudan
elementary
a
to
los
middle school,
estudiantes
and then
a hacer
from
una
middle to
transición
high
de la
school.
escuela
So,
primaria a la escuela
so
intermedia y
I'm going to
después de la
ask
escuela
now, this is
intermedia
actually
a
an
la escuela
interactive
secundaria.
slide, and I'm going to leave these up now because these are just things we reviewed.
Esto
And
es
I'm going to
algo
ask
que lo voy a
people,
dejar aquí en la pantalla para que lo puedan ver
our participants to share
y voy a
what
pedirle a
educational
ustedes
programs and focus areas that you think are
para
most
que si
important
pueden
for Pickering Middle
compartir
School
los
students. Now, I'm
programas
leaving these up
educativos y
now
áreas de
just so you
enfoque
can reference
que
them.
usted piensa que son los más
You can be adding
importantes
other things.
para la escuela
We've missed a
intermedia
lot of things
Pickering.
here, I'm sure. So add the things that are most
Que
important to
yo
you,
sé que hay
or
mucho
you
aquí,
can work
usted
off of
puede
some of these
agregar
things that have already been
cosas
identified.
que ya se
And
han
I'm going to leave this
identificado
up for a
o
minute or two, and then
también
we'll
cosas que
scroll
no
over
ven
and see
en
what
esta
people
lista.
are
Lo voy a
thinking.
dejar un minuto para que ustedes puedan poner
And again, if anybody
sus
wants to raise their
opiniones
hand
o sus
and add their
comentarios.
voice to the conversation, you're more
También
than welcome
puede
to do
levantar
so.
la mano si quiere decir algo para agregar otra opinión a esta conversación.
All right, so I'm going to scroll over and see what people are saying.
Entonces ahora voy a ver qué están diciendo.
So, social emotional learning,
El
again, we know
aprendizaje
that's top of mind for a lot of
socioemocional
people,
entendemos que eso es muy
as are the
importante para
CTE
muchas
course
personas.
options,
También cursos
Mastery
CTE,
Core Academics,
también
real world connections and STEAM.
temas
And really
académicos
STEAM, again,
importantes.
is very much about connecting to real world problems and contexts.
La importancia de conectar la escuela
having kids work
a los problemas de
individually
la
and in
vida real.
teams to kind of learn about each of these disciplines
Cómo los
and how they
estudiantes pueden
connect to each
aprender
other in the
estas
context of
materias
doing things that are
y cómo
solving
pueden
problems that are
conectar
real.
los conocimientos para poder
Project-based learning,
resolver
differentiation,
problemas.
social emotional and STEAM.
El aprendizaje basado en
Engagement.
proyectos, la diferenciación, el aprendizaje
Okay, more about community
socioemocional,
engagement and real world
la
connections.
participación
So, yeah, it seems
familiar.
like there's a lot of
También vemos más
desire
de
to
la
have
participación
kids
comunitaria,
feel
conexiones de la vida
connected to the
real,
community, which
como
again in a middle school environment
construir
is
el
certainly what you
liderazgo
want.
y para hacer
You want
decisiones
to
saludables.
establish support systems and
Queremos
mentoring
establecer
opportunities and a sense of
sistemas de
connection for
apoyo para
kids.
los estudiantes.
Civics and real world connections again. Healthy decision-making skills, leadership and advocacy
Civismo y
skills.
también las conexiones
Adding
con el mundo
environmental
real,
justice to the science courses.
agregar justicia del el ambiente a las clases de ciencia.
I'll just leave this up for another moment or so in case anybody's about to press the button. Oh,
Voy a
there we
dejar
go.
esto aquí
Social and
un
racial
momento.
justice programming. practical, real-life
programación
teaching that includes
social
using
y
banking,
racial,
savings and checking, accounting, bill paying,
la
and good
enseñanza
decision-making.
práctica
Financial literacy is
con la
something
vida
that,
real que incluye
certainly a lot of
temas
schools are
como
thinking about,
bancos,
and
cómo
it's a great thing for
ahorrar
kids to have
dinero,
access to.
cómo utilizar un banco, cómo pagar cuentas y cómo hacer buenas decisiones.
Okay. I'm going to move us along. And this is where we get into the design part. This is the last section, and I don't know if I said at the beginning that we're going to leave time at the end for
no sé si
Q&A and open conversation.
Escucharon al comienzo que vamos a dejar tiempo
and
para que hagan
so what I'm going to do here
preguntas
is show you
y
some of the
al
design
final de la
approaches and
presentación
ideas that
acá van a ver los
that have
patrones de
been
diseño
prioritized by the
que
group.
han sido
So
priorizados
what we
por el
did is we
grupo.
introduced about 36 what we call design patterns,
Tenemos como
illustrating
36 patrones
schools that have
de
been designed and built mostly in
diseño.
Massachusetts through the MSBA process over
Estos
the
son
last
los
5 years,
temas que
and
se
showing
han
what these
visto
look like in
de
practice,
prioridad en
and then
otras
asking
escuelas
for
que se han
people's
diseñado
response.
con el apoyo
And
del
initially,
MSBA
using
en otras partes de la
people were
provincia de
able to do a thumbs
Massachusetts.
up if they liked something, or a heart if they loved it, or a thumbs down if they didn't like it. And so in our initial
En nuestra
prioritizing of the design patterns that we presented, these
reunión
were the top
principal,
20,
estos
and
eran
these were the
los
one in order of the
diseños
importance in
más
terms of how many
importantes
actual thumbs up and hearts votes each got.
que
And
fueron
I'm going to give you an
votados como los
opportunity
más
to do that yourself in
importantes.
just a moment.
Y le voy a dar también una
And then
oportunidad
we
para que
went
ustedes
into
hagan
small
eso
groups,
en un
into
momento.
breakout groups, and in
Fuimos
each of
en
our
grupos
workshops we
más
get into breakout
pequeños
groups for the
en
last
esas
40 minutes of the
en las
workshop.
últimas 40,
We went into
los
breakout
últimos 40
groups
minutos de la
and
reunión
people interacted
y
with a
dentro
facilitator who
de esos
shared with
grupos
them
más
more about the
pequeños,
design patterns, and they prioritized
las
their top design
personas hablaron
patterns.
con
So
una persona
what
que
you see
estaba
in
más
red here
que estaba
are all the things
diseñando
that appeared in the top 20 of the first pass,
esos espacios.
1.0 in people's individual reactions, and then as a group we can see that 9 of them,
Pueden ver
9
aquí
out of these first 10
9
also appeared
de los
in the small
primeros
groups prioritizing.
10
So we got it
diseños,
right.
eran
And then
importantes
there were
para
some
todo
other
el
things
grupo
that came
y
up in small
también
group
para el
prioritizing. So
grupo
what I'm going to do
pequeño.
is share with you the top 14
Entonces, ahora le voy a compartir
design patterns that have been prioritized.
los
And I'm
patrones de
actually showing
diseño,
them to you in order
los
of
14
which
más
ones got most
populares,
votes, so you can see what was most important to
para que
people.
puedan ver
Now,
qué
I'll
era
tell
más
you
importante para
that
la mayoría de
in the
la
bottom
gente.
right-hand corner of each slide,
Abajo,
assuming you're
a la
still on
derecha,
Mentimeter,
si todavía
you'll
está
see a
en
thumbs
ese
up
sitio web,
or a thumbs
puede
down
ver una manito
or a question mark. And you are
con el
welcome
dedo
to
para arriba o para
interact with
abajo,
these slides if
o
you like.
también
If you
con un
like
signo
what
de
I'm talking
pregunta.
about or showing you,
Si
you can put a
usted
thumbs up.
le
If
gusta
you have questions
esta
about it or
idea,
need more information,
puede
you
poner
can
el
put a
dedo para
thumbs
arriba,
down, or you can put a
o si no
question
le
mark.
gusta,
Or
puede
if you
poner el
don't
dedo
think
para
this is
abajo,
right for
o
Pickering,
si
you
tiene
can
alguna
put a
pregunta,
thumbs
puede
down. So just
apretar
as a way for you to
el signo
interact
de
with the
cuestión.
slides
Por
and help
ejemplo,
us understand a little
y
bit
si no le
more.
gusta una idea que
So I'm
no
going to
sería
go
una
through
buena idea
these
para
relatively
Pickering,
quickly. So
puede
if you want to
hacer
put a
clic en mi
thumbs up,
imagen con el
try to
dedo
be
para
quick
abajo.
on the trigger, so that we can record your thinking. So welcoming arrival. Now a lot of these, I should say that a lot of these things are kind of no-brainers. Of course, we're going to be considering these things, but these are just things that, again, were prioritized by the group as of particular importance as they thought about the new or renovated Pickering Middle School. So what does welcoming arrival mean? Well,
¿Qué
it could mean
significa
that,
una
first of all,
bienvenida?
it's easy to know where to enter the building.
Que
There's
es
a main
fácil
entrance.
saber dónde
It feels
entrar al
welcoming, it
edificio.
feels inviting, but it also feels secure.
Que
There are areas
uno
outside where you can
quiere
gather
entrar al
and you can
edificio,
sit.
que es una
There are
entrada
areas where
linda
you can protect yourself from the
y
weather
que es
if
una
you're
entrada
waiting
segura. Por
to get
ejemplo, hay
into the
lugares donde se
school.
pueden parar para estar
And
protegidos
there's
de la
a
lluvia.
clear kind of entry sequence
Y
that brings
hay
you
una
into the school
vereda
in a
que se ve
safe way.
claramente dónde tiene que entrar para ir a la puerta
So
principal.
security and welcome came up number 2, not surprising,
número
we're
dos
all thinking about this.
era la
And they are
seguridad
really connected, actually, the
y
idea of
la
security
bienvenida.
and welcome. We
Y eso
certainly
está
don't want a
conectado
building that feels like you're entering into
a
a
la
prison,
bienvenida. No quiere
but
ser,
we want it to feel
no
safe.
queremos que se sienta
So
como un
what
lugar,
do we
como una
do? We
prisión,
have
pero también
clear
queremos que sea un lugar
visibility to
que se
who's coming
siente
to
seguro.
the building.
Entonces tiene que haber
We
alta
have the opportunity
visibilidad
to
para los
buzz
que están
people in
entrando
or
al
not, and maybe
edificio.
there are 2 chances to buzz people in.
Por ejemplo, que
Here's a
hay
situation
dos
where you've got,
situaciones donde
once you're
pueden
buzzed into the
entrar
entry vestibule,
a
the
través de
second
una
entry
puerta.
vestibule, there's a bank teller window where if your student forgets their lunch, you don't have to enter into the school
que, por ejemplo, hay una
to
ventana
drop it
que
off, so
conecta
you can do
esta
that.
entrada a una
Some
oficina
schools
o
just
otra
lock the
pieza.
doors completely
Entonces, si alguien
after
tiene que
school
entrar y
has
dejar
been
un
open
almuerzo,
and
por
all the
ejemplo,
students
para
have
un
arrived,
estudiante, lo
and
puede
you have to
hacer
actually
a
walk
través
through
de
the
una
administrative
ventana.
suite to get
No tiene
into
que
the
entrar a la
school.
escuela para
So
hacer
that's
eso,
another
o
piece of
puede
it.
entrar a
Part
través
of
de
also
la
welcome
oficina o de
and
esta
security is being
este
able
otro
to see a
salón.
friendly face when you first arrive,
Y también es lindo
and to have
poder
a
ver
sense of where
una
to
cara
go
familiar
and what
cuando
to
uno
do in
entra
this
al edificio.
sequence.
Y también eso se
Agile
ve en
classrooms.
este
So the
diseño.
classrooms we want, they
Clases
don't have to
ágiles,
have a lot of bells and whistles,
que no tienen que ser
but they
clases que
do have to
tengan
have good natural light, flexible modular furniture,
muchas
and
cosas,
sometimes
digamos,
furniture that is
caras o
adjustable, where
lindas,
kids
tienen
come
que
in all
ser
different
espacios
sizes and you want to
funcionales,
adapt to their size.
que
Also,
se
we
pueden
more and more
adaptar
classrooms with some
a
stand-up
lo que
desks
sea
that
necesario
give
para esa
kids
clase,
options
para
for
lo que
that.
están aprendiendo los
We want
estudiantes, para
access
que tengan
to electrical,
opciones
maybe even
diferentes,
pulling down
ventanas
from the
grandes,
ceiling. This is a more
tienen que tener
industrial kind of look that you see
acceso
in this
a la
classroom.
electricidad o a
This
otros
has more of
sistemas de
a suspended
aprendizaje.
ceiling, which is
A la
good for
izquierda se ve un
acoustics.
poco más industrial,
Here we've got
a la derecha
storage
se ve un
behind
poco más
walls
tradicional.
that are sliding whiteboard walls.
Acá
If we're
puede ver
doing more
detrás de estas
project-based
paredes que se
learning,
mueven al
we
lugar
need spaces to store
adicional,
materials. Or if we're doing
donde se
more
puede guardar
differentiated
material
instruction, we need
escolar, porque
spaces
eso
to store
también es
materials.
importante, porque se necesita.
Some classrooms might have a movable wall in
Algunas
between.
clases van a
In
tener
this
una
case, it's
pared
a
que se
whiteboard
puede
wall.
mover. En
You
esta
can also
clase
get them
es
with
una
tactile
pared que se puede escribir encima
surfaces.
también.
These would only be used in maybe one set of classrooms in a set of 5 or 6 if you wanted more flexibility.
Que esto
They
se
are
utilizaría
expensive, but they do have very good
en
acoustic
algunas
properties.
clases que
So
son más caras,
those are always things
en
to
algunas clases,
consider.
no en todas, pero sería una posibilidad.
Classroom neighborhoods. This is definitely one of the ways in which we try and
Estos son
get
los
more with less.
vecindarios de las
To have the
clases.
sum be greater than the parts, that is. So here is what would be, and this is the West Bridgewater Middle High School.
Esto es una escuela
Here is
West
what would
Bridgewater Middle
otherwise
High,
be what we would call a double-loaded corridor. A corridor with
que es un
lockers and
pasillo
classrooms on either side.
que tiene
But
clases de
instead
ambos
of
lados,
just being one straight shot,
pero
there's
para
a
en
tooth
vez de
that's taken
que
out here.
sea
And part of
solamente
this extended
clases,
square footage creates a
hay
team
un
room.
espacio
And right
que
next
se
to that
puede,
team room
que
is a
se llama un
teacher planning
espacio de
area.
equipo.
So you've got some
Y
good
al lado de
informal
ese
kind of
espacio
supervision taking
hay un
place.
espacio
And
para
you can see
maestras
that there
donde
are
pueden
views from
planificar.
these classrooms
Y
through
hay
windows. You can pull a blind or you can
vistas
have
que las
embedded
clases
blinds
tienen
within the windows
hacia ese
in the case of a
espacio
lockdown
de
or if you want
equipo.
privacy.
Entonces
But otherwise,
se puede ver de
what
otras
would
clases
otherwise
ese
be
espacio.
just this long corridor
Y eso
that can feel
normalmente
pretty
sería un
anonymous and institutional
pasillo
becomes a
largo.
neighborhood.
Esto
And
parece
here are
como
two
más como
bathrooms,
un
and there are
vecindario,
some special education
muchas
classrooms and
ventanas y
resource
todo
rooms
se ve más
nearby. So
conectado.
this creates a classroom. It's no more square neighborhood. It's no more square footage. You want it to be used in flexible ways, but it does create a
Que
sense
es un
of
espacio que
connection
no
and identity.
tiene más espacio cúbico,
Extended learning and
pero que el
breakout
espacio se
spaces. So these
utiliza
are some
mejor.
of the examples of things that we do to build in more flexible environments. This
Estos
is a
son
middle school in
ejemplos
Beverly, the Beverly Middle School.
que hacemos en
You've got a
algunas
breakout
clases.
room
Esta es la
between two
escuela
classrooms
intermedia
with a
en Beverly,
glass door that you can see in.
que
So
hay
small group work can happen here,
una división
testing.
entre las dos
It
clases,
could be
pero
a
hay una
space for
puerta de
de-escalation,
vidrio,
for tutoring,
entonces se puede
for
ver
differentiated
de una clase
instruction.
para la otra.
And it's
Entonces puede
accessible
ser
to both
instrucción
classrooms, so it
diferenciada
kind of connects those
y las
classrooms.
clases están
Here's a living
conectadas
room
pero divididas
environment
también.
in a school in Los Angeles, one of the Da Vinci
Esta es una
schools,
escuela en Los
a public
Ángeles,
school,
una escuela
where the
pública.
classrooms are kind of organized around a central living room
Las clases
with a
están
little stage in it
organizadas en un
and
espacio
audio
central
visual that allows
que
you to do
tienen
presentations. So you can bring
sistemas
two classrooms
audiovisuales
here
donde se pueden hacer
and do work, or you
presentaciones.
could have it set up for small
Pueden
group
traer dos
and
clases para hacer
individual work.
presentaciones o pueden
Here's
también
an
hacerlo
example
para
of
que sea un
just
trabajo
in the hallway,
en grupo
making,
pequeño, más
making
individual.
space more
Y aquí a la
accessible,
derecha
more
veo un
useful
espacio
for
como parte de
independent
un
work or for
pasillo,
small
pero ese
group work.
espacio también se está
Obviously,
utilizando
in a school environment,
como un
if you're going to
espacio
send kids
adicional para
outside
los
of the classroom, you need
estudiantes.
to be able to monitor them, and it's about building a culture of respect where kids know that it's a privilege to be outside, but they are
También,
developing more independent
Los
learning
estudiantes
skills.
quieren
And they're
desarrollar
in close
habilidades
proximity to their
independientes
teacher.
para poder
Flexible
trabajar allá
science
afuera.
labs.
pero saben que los maestros lo pueden ver también.
I talked about the science,
Los
technology,
laboratorios
engineering lab,
flexibles de
and those
ciencia,
hands-on labs are like really important.
hablamos sobre la importancia de esos laboratorios
in middle schools.
donde pueden hacer
Any
cosas los
science
estudiantes con sus
lab through the
manos,
MSBA process is going to want to be as flexible as possible
que
with
tiene que ser
perimeter
un
lab
espacio
stations
flexible
and
de
furniture that's
laboratorio.
mobile.
Los muebles se tienen que mover.
Cafetoriums and multi-purpose spaces. So
Estos
this
son
is,
los
I told
que
you
se
that,
dice
cafetoriums can
o
actually be
espacio de
quite
varios
beautiful.
usos.
So this is an example of a
Esto es un
cafetorium
ejemplo de un
at
cafetorium
actually an elementary school
de
in
una
Newton.
escuela primaria.
You can see that, first of all, there's a lot of attention that has been paid towards acoustics.
Pueden ver primero que hay
It's
mucha
got a full
importancia
stage
en
with
la
lighting.
acústica.
In many of
Hay un
our
escenario
schools, what we
completo
have
con
are
luces.
movable walls that will allow
Y en
the stage
algunos,
itself to be used as a
algunas
music
escuelas
room or one of the
tenemos
music
paredes
rooms,
que se
and maybe
pueden
connect to the
utilizar
band
esos
or the choral
espacios
rooms
para
sort of in
clases de
back of it.
música.
So, or a green room, we can think about that kind of flexibility. And this becomes a space that can
Entonces
serve lots of
esto
different purposes
se convierte en un espacio que
throughout the
puede
day
servir
in the school, as
varios
well as
usos
become a
diferentes
multi-purpose meeting space for rather large groups.
para grupos más grandes, por ejemplo, también.
All right, so in this Mentimeter slide, I'm going to have people just ask you to. We've got our first set of 7. We're going to do 7 more. So I'll just ask people to rate
Entonces,
these
ahora,
in terms of what you are
voy a
most excited
pedir
about as you
que
think about a
ponga
new
en
Pickering Middle School
orden
facility.
lo que usted piensa que sea lo más importante para una escuela nueva o renovada. La primera opción sería que sea una entrada bienvenida, seguridad. Número 3 es clases ágiles. Número 4 es clases o un diseño de aulas o de clases como una comunidad o vecindario. Espacios extendidos de aprendizaje. Número 6, laboratorios flexibles de ciencia. Y número 7, un espacio del cafetorio, que es una cafetería o un gimnasio combinado.
It's a little bit like a horse race here, seeing what's trending on top and if that stays on top. But flexible science labs certainly are something people are thinking about. Those extended learning and breakout spaces too. Now, many of, all of these are things we're going to be thinking about, and many of them are connected to each other. For example, a classroom neighborhood might include a flexible science lab, extended learning and breakout spaces, and agile classrooms.
Estos temas estamos viendo cuáles son los más importantes
right,
para ustedes.
I'm not sure what our base number is going to be. I'm going to allow another minute or so.
Más quieren
I know we have about 15 participants. I'm not sure if everybody is voting. So
como 15
I'll see where our baseline is here, and I'll use that as a indicator of in the next round of rating these design patterns. All right, I guess it's going to be 6, and we're going to move on to the next set of 7. And again, what I'm doing is I'm presenting the design patterns that were prioritized by the visioning group.
Entonces ahora voy a presentar los diseños que fueron como de prioridad para el equipo de visión. Estos son de los 36 que eran los más importantes. Estamos intentando ver qué es lo más importante en la arquitectura del edificio. Esto se llama el corazón de la escuela.
The cafeteria
muchas veces es la cafetería.
becomes the heart of the school.
que se convierte en el corazón de la escuela, pero muchas veces las cafeterías están en lugares como que no se sienten como el corazón de la escuela, que no están conectados a ninguna otra parte de la escuela. Entonces lo que estamos pensando en el vecindario de clases es que queremos proveer a los estudiantes que estén conectados a la cultura general de la escuela. Por ejemplo, el corazón de la escuela puede ser el gimnasio.
Kind of extended learning spaces could be the heart of a particular neighborhood. In this particular example, you can see at the North Middlesex High School there is what we call an education stair. These are great for just kids using their technology or sitting eating lunch quietly. They're also great for as a venue for presentation para hacer su trabajo o para descansar.
O también se puede utilizar si están haciendo alguna
display and exhibition, really showcasing the work that students are doing. That happens on kind of a 3D and 2D level. We can also think about flat screen monitors that kind of like advertise what sort of is going on in the school. It's nice to get a big blast of that when you first arrive at a school. Your first impression should be one in which you kind of get a sense of what the school values and what it's all about. Of course, we also want to provide opportunities for 3D display and exhibition. Indoor-outdoor connections. Here's an example of an interior eating courtyard that allows kids to safely go outside. We could combine this with an outdoor classroom.
Al aire libre, que está adentro de la escuela, donde pueden ir los estudiantes a comer o para descansar, que están adentro de la escuela todavía, que se puede salir, que es un lugar seguro. Y aquí ven a la izquierda un espacio donde se puede abrir un espacio dentro de una clase para que se pueda hacer algún trabajo afuera.
Directly to the outdoors and allows them to do some bigger projects
directamente con el espacio afuera o al aire libre.
Media Center Learning Commons. This is an example of a renovation at the Gibbs Middle School in Arlington. And you can see that the Media Commons is sort of not what it used to be. It's a set of varied spaces. Of course we have books there and an area for study and quiet reading. We also have a makerspace here on this level that is connected because it's part of the curriculum that the librarian runs. And we also have a mezzanine here for project-based learning where teachers can bring their kids to do particular projects and do collaborative learning. So it's a collaborative space. We've got access to technology here as well. Enrichment spaces, certainly the MSBA template comes with a full palette of enrichment spaces. One thing we think about is how to centrally locate them so that kids don't have to travel far to get to them. Also how to showcase some of the things that are going on. Obviously with the music room, you need to think about acoustics, but certainly with an art room, it's nice to be able to see things that are going on and celebrate the learning that's happening there. And school as community resource. Here we're back at West Bridgewater Middle High School, and you can see that this is the main entry. And the gym, the kitchen, the auditorium, the band, and the local cable access TV is all accessible after hours and on weekends. You can completely lock off the academic wings
Todo eso puede permanecer accesible después del horario de clase. Entonces uno puede cerrar las clases para que el resto de la escuela todavía sea accesible para otros eventos comunitarios.
And finally, sustainability, certainly not least, but of course we're thinking about making the building as sustainable as possible and having that be a part of
que sea parte, por ejemplo, los espacios verdes
about the building and how students and teachers interact with it.
Y cómo se pueden usar esos espacios para que los estudiantes puedan aprender mejor programas de esos verdes para preservar energía. Y si puede también poner lo que es más importante para usted en orden de lo más importante a menos importante. El primero es el corazón de la escuela, el segundo es la exhibición del trabajo de los estudiantes, el tercero es la conexión entre el espacio adentro y afuera, o al aire libre, el cuarto es un espacio común de centro de medios, el quinto es espacios de enriquecimiento y el último sería la sustentabilidad de la escuela.
All right, well, wait till we get to our baseline of 6. Okay, so indoor-outdoor connections. Oh, we got 7. Indoor-outdoor connections made it to the top, which
Lo más
is
importante parece
not
ser las
unusual, something we're
conexiones
definitely
para
thinking about a
adentro y para
lot
afuera.
more these days.
Eso no es inusual, eso se está viendo mucho
Sustainability
estos días.
and enrichment
La sustentabilidad
spaces,
también es importante.
media center and
Los
heart of
lugares
school.
de enriquecimiento,
All right.
centros de medios, muy bien.
So, let's see. I have another slide here.
Ahora tengo algo
I think
más
we
en
have
la
enough
pantalla.
information,
Creo
but
que tenemos
we'll give you an
suficiente
opportunity to
información. Le
just share
vamos a
the
dar
things that
una
you're most excited
oportunidad para
about in this particular thing.
compartir
And
qué es
you
lo
can
más
also
importante para
describe
usted.
what you would like them to look
También
like.
puede describir
So,
qué te gustaría
if
ver.
if welcoming arrival is something you're interested in, you might say a little bit
Si la
about what that would
entrada
look like.
bienvenida es importante
Or
para
what
usted,
kind of
también puede
indoor-outdoor
hablar un poco
connections you
sobre
would like.
cómo eso se vería. O cuáles son las conexiones del espacio interno y externo de la escuela que le gustaría ver.
So we'll just leave that for a few minutes, see what people are thinking. And you can certainly add other design patterns that aren't here.
También pueden agregar otros temas o patrones de diseño que no ven aquí. Estos solamente eran los 14 más populares.
All right, so welcoming arrival, having a lot of open space with seating and coverage for weather. Okay, outdoor spaces protected from elements. Yeah, when we look at outdoor classrooms, we're looking at definitely protected from the elements and having good internet access as well.
De los elementos. Espacio afuera
Media center,
también que sea
learning
protegido
commons,
de la
flexible
lluvia,
lab
de los
space.
elementos
Okay,
todo
so
el
these
año.
are all an indoor-outdoor
Un
connections.
centro de medios.
Welcoming arrival shows the students, the community as a whole, and visitors to the city that we are a community that values our students
bienvenida,
and 21st century education.
que demuestra que los
Definitely,
estudiantes
our
y los que están
impression of the
visitando
building of
la
a school
escuela
is formed
son parte
within
de
the
una
first
comunidad
minute
que
of
valora a
entering
los
into it.
estudiantes
So those
y la
first impressions are
educación del
important.
siglo XXI.
And there are also things that students and teachers experience every day as they walk into the school.
Sí, que es importante cómo se sienten los estudiantes y las maestras todos los días mientras o cuando entran a la escuela.
Well, I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to open up for any comments,
Voy a dejar
questions,
de compartir la pantalla.
clarifications
Ahora si ustedes tienen cualquier
from our
pregunta
attendees.
o comentario, la pueden hacer ahora.
And thank you for listening to me.
Y muchas gracias
I know this is a
haberme
lot of information to
escuchado. Yo sé
share.
que es mucha
I've been talking a
información.
little bit more slowly than I might otherwise because I wanted to make sure that our language
Estaba hablando un
translators
poco
were
más
able
lento
to,
del normal para darle
keep a
tiempo a
pace.
los intérpretes para que traduzcan lo que se está diciendo.
So, Deb, I'll let you look out for any raised hands.
We do have a couple of questions. One question is,
Tenemos algunas preguntas.
Somehow you are, I'm sorry, but you are echoing. I'm not sure why.
I'm not sure why either. Molly, do you want to try?
Sure thing. There's a technical question. Will the office know when a door is opened from the inside?
Si las personas en la oficina van a saber cuando una puerta se abre de adentro. Y la segunda pregunta es si los estudiantes fueron parte de este proceso cuando estaban pensando sobre estos temas. Voy a responder la primera pregunta. Cuando se abre cualquiera de las puertas que dan al exterior, le va a mandar una señal a la oficina principal para avisarle que se ha abierto esa puerta.
I'm looking at the attendance list and seeing if we have any students. We oftentimes do.
Estamos viendo si los estudiantes
I don't
participaron.
believe we have any
No
students.
estamos seguros si tenemos estudiantes ahora con nosotros esta noche. Siempre es bueno tener los estudiantes en estas reuniones. Algo que podríamos hacer es utilizar estos patrones de diseño.
And see exciting images of what a school could look like.
Y le gusta ver a los estudiantes imágenes
we could certainly create some kind of survey for them,
para ver cómo se vería una escuela para ellos en el futuro.
That students are in at the school? Would that be a context where they might talk in their advisory about some of their ideas about what they'd like to see in a school?
Está preguntando si hay
Yes, there is an
alguna clase
advisory time, but there's
donde los
also
estudiantes podrían
talking
dar
to
sus
my team.
opiniones.
We were thinking of pushing out a survey and
Vamos
discussing with the
a
kids
hacer
what
una
they'd like to
encuesta
see if
para
they had a
los
brand new Pickering
estudiantes
tomorrow.
Para ver qué le gustaría ver
Sure.
en
There
la
are
escuela
two more
nueva Pickering.
questions.
Hay
One
dos
question
preguntas
is
más.
around whether there will be cooking and sewing classes offered.
Hay dos preguntas
And the
más.
second is, I have
La
heard
primera
that
es si va a
walls
haber
that slide
clases
open between classrooms,
de cocina
while great for
y
flexibility,
si va a haber
have
clases
poor
de coser.
soundproofing when trying to teach classes separately. Will that be considered?
Y también
I'll just say
he
about the
escuchado
cooking and
que
sewing that
algunas
those are offered,
paredes
those will be
son más
offered across the
flexibles y esas
district.
paredes
And
que
then
se
Jean,
pueden
if you
abrir
want to
entre las
take
clases, pero
the
que muchas
question
veces
around
se escucha el sonido
the
que pasa.
sliding door.
Eso va a ser
Yeah,
algo
I
que se
think
va
a lot
a
of
ser
people,
considerado.
the sliding partitions used to not be very good
Yo creo que muchas
acoustically,
personas se
but the
acuerdan
ones
de
that
esas
are
paredes más
manufactured and
viejas
installed today
o esas
have a real
particiones que se
focus
usaban
on sealing,
antes, que
for
muchas veces
acoustics.
no bloqueaban
And for
bien el
instance, the
sonido de
ones
una
that we
clase
put
para
at the
la otra,
stage
pero
at
eso ha
Thurgood
mejorado
Marshall,
mucho.
I think do a fabulous job.
Que han hecho
And,
un muy
the
buen
ones
trabajo en
David
las escuelas
showed
nuevas.
that are kind of the same
Por
panels.
ejemplo,
They
en
could
la
be a
escuela
whiteboard, they
Marshall,
could be backboards.
que esos
They
paneles
all,
y esas
seal
paredes
on the edges, the
se
tops,
cierran
and
muy
even the
bien y
bottom.
bloquean muy bien el
So they
sonido.
are very well acoustically rendered.
And I would just emphasize that
Y
we would
quiero
not
hacer
put movable
énfasis
walls between classrooms
que no
unless
vamos a
it was a
poner
request from the teachers in the district because it
en las
connected
paredes
to
que se pueden mover entre las
your
clases.
delivery or
No las
teaming
vamos a
that
poner
teachers
a no
might
ser de
do.
que sea
It
un
does
pedido
add
de
some
escuela o
flexibility.
del
Suddenly,
distrito.
instead of a 900 square foot room, you have an 1800
Puede
square
ser
foot room,
una
which could
opción
be
que
great for
puede
an
agregar
evening
algo
exhibition or
más
something like that.
flexible
Or if
para
teachers are
aumentar el
teaming.
espacio.
But that's just something that for discussion.
Pero eso es
But,
algo que se puede
another thing
discutir.
is that because these panels or movable walls can be quite expensive, other options are putting communicating doors, just a set of double doors between classrooms that allow, if you're doing team teaching, if you want to have that kind of flow between classroom spaces. So we can
entre las
explore that
clases
for
que se
sure.
podría hacer para que puedan tener aprendizaje
And
más
then a
fluido entre
member in
las
the
clases.
Q&A offered to go see them at St. Mary's. There's a wing at St. Mary's that has them. And I can comment as the former principal of Thurgood Marshall.
Yo puedo
up until
comentar
this
como la
intern year,
directora
that after
previa de la
6
escuela
years,
Marshall, después de
the
6 años,
soundproofing materials that are
que el
installed in Thurgood
material
Marshall still work.
para
as well
bloquear
as
el
they did the
sonido
first
entre
year.
las
So.
clases. Después de
And
6
then there's
años
just
todavía
a
funciona muy bien.
note, I think, David, this might go to you, that there was some frustration about being able to put input in, I think, in Menti, if you see that Q&A.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Was it not working?
It says I could only choose one, but was cut off, so my input was only
La
one or
pregunta
two.
ahora,
This meeting has
o
been
comentario,
frustrating for input.
es que
Oh, I'm
yo
sorry to hear that.
he estado
Is that the
frustrada
kind
porque
of
no
thing
me dejó
where
poner más de una opción
that
en el
person
sitio web
or
que se
others could email for
utilizó
their input that we
anteriormente?
could, get into the minutes, David?
Sure.
Send it through the school department,
Yeah.
perhaps Molly or.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we also, we could also just, is there a chat here that we can, I don't know if there's a chat in the webinar format.
There's only Q&A.
Yeah, there's only the Q&A.
Solamente tienen la
I
opción
will
de
say that, I don't know
Q&A
if
o
I'll
pregunta
echo
y
it, but
respuesta.
I will say that there were some questions from people who could not be here for this meeting, wanting to know if there was a way that they could provide input. So I didn't know if there could be some kind of survey or some way that we could post it on the website, that people could access, we could message it out that it's there for X amount of time, and people could go on and give what information.
Queremos hacer que
We can
tenga una
certainly
encuesta para que
create
la
a
gente,
PDF of this
todos los
presentation,
miembros de la
and then people
comunidad,
can
los
use that
estudiantes,
to
que
kind of
todos
go
puedan
through
ir
it and respond to the
y
questions
escribir lo que
themselves,
sea más importante
and
para
send an
ellos.
email, and we
Por
will
ejemplo,
definitely
podemos
incorporate them
hacer
into the
un
community
formulario
feedback, the
con toda la
notes.
información que se presentó esta noche para que la gente pueda poner sus comentarios directamente en una encuesta y que
So
después de esa
just
encuesta la
to
tengamos
follow up
nosotros
and be
para
clear on that,
considerar
is that
todas
something
esas
that would be
opiniones.
posted on the project website or the school department website?
Quiero
Where
aclarar
would people find that
dónde
and
la gente puede
send their
encontrar esa
comments
información
to?
o esa encuesta para
I'm
agregar
not
sus
sure, Tim, if that's
comentarios.
is that a you question?
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what format David would use, but we can have responses be sent to our email address, which is Pickering Middle School Building Project at gmail.com. Which I'm trying to see how to put that on this, how we can get that out to people.
No,
No estoy seguro cómo eso sería, pero vamos a ver cómo podemos.
All the dates that are coming up, meetings that we're having, plus the website and the email. Through school messenger to the entire school department, both staff and families. That went out last week.
Le mandamos un
That'd be
mensaje a
So,
todos,
We will
todo
monitor
el
that.
personal
Is that
escolar,
probably the best method, David, or
todos
Sure.
los estudiantes.
Yeah, that works.
Nosotros podemos monitorear, podemos
Yeah, we
mandar un
definitely welcome
mensaje
more
para que
feedback,
tengan más
and we'll incorporate
comentarios,
them
para que la gente
into
pueda hacer más
the notes.
comentarios
And this
y
is
que vaya directamente
an
a esta
iterative
organización para que
process, and
puedan
that there's
ver
no end to it in
y
terms
hacer
of
un
the
resumen
conversation
y
that's going
hablar un
on
poco
about
sobre
what
los
these
otros
priorities
comentarios
are. We're
que
trying to
otras
clarify the
personas
big
puedan
picture
hacer
themes that are
que no
emerging
pudieron estar
as
con
we
nosotros
enter
esta noche
into
o que
sort
no
of the
pudieron
initial
contribuir
stages of
esta noche.
designing the building.
Yeah, and they are very, very important for the design team because
Que esos
we will go through the
comentarios
notes
son
of
muy
all 4
importantes
of
para
these
el equipo de
sessions, and
diseño.
we'll kind of try to glean the most important aspects of
Y vamos a
of
ver en esos
ideas that are
comentarios
coming from
cuáles
the
son los
community,
temas más
and then
importantes.
what do we do with it?
Y
We
después
try to
vamos a ver qué
design the
hacemos con
building
esos
around it
temas
and accommodate
y
as
cómo
much as we
podemos
can. So
hacerlo,
I don't want people to ever think that,
incluir
this
los
is kind
más
of a
temas
one and done
posibles que sean
thing.
temas
It does live
importantes.
and it does follow through in the design of the building.
Sí, que la gente
One last
tiene que
question
saber
came up
que
about
eso sí va a ser
being
parte
mindful
del
to
diseño
include
de
the
la escuela.
community that doesn't receive the school messenger
También queremos
notices,
incluir a la comunidad que
as
no
well.
recibe
So
los mensajes
inviting
de School
in the
Messenger
community, maybe through the
para
mayor's office or
invitarlos
city
a ellos, a
hall.
lo mejor a través de la oficina del alcalde o del mayor, para que ellos también tengan una voz y puedan dar su opinión.
Otherwise, David, I think like usual, you've done a fabulous job. I mean, it's so great to see pictures
Yo creo que han hecho muy buen trabajo con la presentación. Siempre es muy útil ver imágenes.
I'd really be excited if there was a place where this presentation was available to people.
Yo estaría muy entusiasmado si podrían poner esta presentación y la información en algún lado para obtener más comentarios de todas las personas para incluir. Podemos crear un PDF para que la gente pueda ver las respuestas de esta reunión y también pueden agregar sus comentarios y sus opiniones y mandar un correo electrónico con lo que están pensando, y también tenemos una grabación en video que podemos poner para que la gente lo pueda ver.
PickeringMSBuildingProject.com.
Y también eso lo vamos a poner en el sitio web del grupo para planificar una escuela nueva de Pickering.
And I did see a comment that about having this on Facebook Live, which we will try to do for the, I know, David, you won't be with us, but for our site selection community forum in
También
December.
vi un comentario que sería una buena idea poner esto en
If there are any
Facebook
other
Live.
mediums we
En
need
la
to
próxima reunión,
please feel free to let me know.
Vamos a ponerlo también en Facebook Live, y si hay otros medios de comunicación, por favor, avísanos para que lo podamos poner a esta presentación en otros medios también.
And gave their feedback and input. We will work to
Muchas
get
gracias
out
para todos los que
this
vinieron.
presentation for anyone who
Vamos
couldn't be here.
Vamos a compartir esta información de esta noche con los que no pudieron estar con nosotros esta noche.
Site selection that is scheduled for December 19th. It will be hybrid.
El 19 de
Deb,
diciembre
you want
va
me
a
to take over?
Sure,
Just
go
to let it
ahead.
go.
Sí, es difícil
Yeah,
con
so
el
as Deb
eco.
said, we have our next community forum is just specifically
Hay
dealing
un
with site
foro
selection for the school.
comunitario que va a
That will
hablar
be Monday, December
específicamente
19th
sobre
from
cómo se
6
va a
p.m. to
elegir
8
un
p.m.
sitio para la
Translation
escuela,
will also be available. It will be a hybrid model.
que es un
We will
modelo
have the
híbrido
forum in the Pickering Auditorium
que
at
va
the
a
existing
ser
Pickering
en el
School. Will
auditorio
also
de la
be
escuela
available on
Pickering,
Zoom.
que también va a estar en Zoom.
Lynn Community Access will be taping it to air at a later time.
El
It will not be
canal Link
broadcast
Community
live.
Access lo va a grabar, no va a
And we
estar
will
en
also
vivo,
try to have
pero
it
lo
on
va a poder
Facebook.
tener
So,
en la tele en otro momento en el futuro, y
yeah,
también lo
that's
vamos
about
a poner en Facebook.
Thank you everyone for being here.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos los que vinieron.
Thank you, David, for that presentation. It's excellent.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias a todos.